This is how I made my first 3K online, just 15 years old. Boys, if you're in business, you've tried a lot of businesses, struggling to make money, you need some help, just watch this video, watch it to the end. I'll drop some value, drop all the sauce I know. Anyway, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it, boys. Boom. So obviously, this is how I made my first 3K online, just at 15 years old, between the ages of 14 and 15. My name's Dahi O'Shea, County Kerry, Ireland. Anyway, let's get into it, boys. What I do, I run an online AI marketing agency. So you might ask, what is that? An AI marketing agency basically just helps local businesses, maybe dentists, roofers, construction companies, solar installation companies, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, boys. Just get more jobs, get more bookings, get more appointments, drive their revenue to the sky. Basically, they just pay us a monthly retainer. So, it might be 2K a month. We provide those systems, they would get results, and as they get results, we get paid. So it's a win-win situation for both. And just implementing proven ad frameworks that we've built out, AI systems, all that good stuff. So that's an example, maybe an ad. This is a very engaging ads. You're calling out the location, boom, benefits, CTA, call to action, and then there's just some results. 183 leads. 1K spent, 5K per lead, return on investment ads. Anyway, your niche, boys, your niche is the type of business you look to sell to. This could be construction companies, dentists, restaurants, as I said, solar installation companies. It doesn't matter. Obviously, no, it does matter. Your niche is very important. It makes, if you're in a bad niche, it's like trying to drive down a road, but you're driving in sand or something. So you have to make sure you're in the right vehicle. So, picking the right niche, it doesn't, there's a lot of different niches. You just have to pick the right one for you. So picking a niche, what to look for in a niche. So obviously picking a niche is important. It's so important. You have to make sure you're in the right vehicle. As I said, the companies that you're looking to sell to, they must have the budget to pay for your retainer and the ad spend on top of that, have a high average order value. So, if their order value is maybe 20 euro, for example, you don't want a client, you don't want super value as a client. You want to make sure, or Aldi, whatever it is, supermarket, you don't want them as a client because their average order value is probably like 10 euro. Or even a restaurant is also kind of low, so it might be 50, 100 euro. You want to make sure that each customer you bring to them is a big chunk of the retainer they pay you. So obviously maybe chauffeur companies, construction companies, each order value could be 500, 1000. Then construction companies and kind of tradesmen would be higher. So obviously that could be upwards of 5, 10, 50, 100K. So you got to make sure that you can provide results for them and provide a return on investment for it to make sense. And also, you don't want it to be too saturated. Obviously, if it's saturated, it means that it works. So obviously, you don't want too much competition, but you also want to make sure the niche works in the first place. Strong market demand. So there's a stat that I came across the other day. It's that 4 in every 5, so 80% of businesses nowadays in 2026 are looking to implement AI. So if you come to them at the right time and they're actively looking for AI, it's a no-brainer for them, boys. So we provide full systems that brings them from bringing their customers in, making sure the customers aren't just going to waste their time, so qualifying them, and then just actually booking them into their calendar as an appointment or a booking or a quote, whatever it is. So it's the full system. So it's just saving time, driving revenue to the sky, boys. Your offer is what sets you apart, lads. It has to be irresistible. So obviously your offer is the price of the service plus what's included in the service. As I said, it has to be irresistible. At the start, you won't have any proven results. You won't have case studies. You won't have testimonials. That's okay. At the start, the first couple of weeks, you won't have those. So you have to come up with an offer that makes sense given your situation. I recommend free trials. That's what worked for me. You can also do commission. Commission isn't the best option, but it definitely is an option. But I recommend free trial. So it's 14 days. It could be 10 days. It could be 30 days, whatever you prefer, boys. You just prove results. You make sure you show the company what you're made of. And then if you prove the results in that, you give them a return on what they invested, or no, they wouldn't have invested because it's a free trial. Obviously, they still pay for ads. So that's important. You don't pay out of pocket, lads. You have to make sure that the company you're signing on a free trial is willing to cover the ad spend. So they're not paying you, but they have to pay, Facebook or Instagram, Meta for the ads. So you don't want to be taking risks like that. If they're not willing to cover ad spend, you don't want to take them on. That's not a good client in the first place. But then you just prove you just show what you're made of. You give them a return, and it's just a no-brainer. They'd be more than willing to pay you 1.5 to sometimes 3K a month for your services. So boom. Outreach is what gets you sales. As simple as that, lads. If you're not outreaching, if you're not putting yourself out there, making sure people know you exist, because they don't know you exist at the start. None of these businesses know you exist. So, you have to get in front of them, be pushy. So, just keep calling them until you want to squeeze a yes or a no out of every business in your locality or in your service area. So, at this stage, I've called nearly probably every business in my niche in Ireland. So, you have to make sure you're doing enough to get in front of them. So, outreach might include, cold calls, cold DMs, cold emails, even in-person outreach is very effective as well. If you want to go out and do that, that's all you boys. I recommend cold calling. It's the most efficient. I wouldn't say it's the most effective. In-person outreach is probably the most effective, but it's the most efficient. You can get through hundreds of calls every day. Even if you're really good at it, if you're really good at cold calling it, you might get 5 meetings booked in 30 calls. Like me, myself, my business partner Ishay. We've been able to book 3 to 5 plus meetings each every single day. So, that might be 10 meetings every day. Do you know how powerful that is, lads? If you're booking 10, even like 7, 8 meetings every day with new clients, new prospects, it's just gonna be so quick to scale to that 10, 50K a month. And that's just that, I'm 15. I started this when I was 14. He's 17. We're both young. We're both hungry. We're both good on the phone. It's just it's at the start it's scary, but it is what gets you those book meetings. It is what's effective. It's efficient. You just have to get used to it. You might be an introvert. I was very introverted at the start, but you build those skills. You build those talking social skills. You make it work. And obviously, if you want my full script that we've been able to book these 3 5 meetings every day each, just DM me script on Instagram. So at Dahi Scales, I'll just send you over the full script, free, no questions asked. So yeah, you can do that if you want. So a bit of a summary so far of my journey. So at the start, it wasn't going very well like the first month, the first 2 months, that was probably around August, September time. I was working on my own. I wasn't keeping myself accountable. I was kind of slacking off a bit, just doing the bare minimum. Obviously, I was doing cold calls every day, but I wasn't locked in, boys. That was the reality. But one day, so I invested in mentorship. I'll put up my mentor's Instagram on the screen now. But investing in a mentorship is so powerful. It keeps you accountable. Make sure you're hitting KPIs, so key performance indicators, making sure you're doing what you have to be doing every day. So you know if you're doing enough. You can lie to me, you can lie to anyone, you can lie to your mentor, your business partner, but you can't lie to yourself, boys. Yeah, you know if you're trying. So you have to make sure you're giving 100% effort to reach your goals, or else you're just not going to do it. As simple as that. Yeah. So one day we just hopped on a call. He was literally telling me there was this other guy called Ishay. He's based in Dublin. He's now my business partner, but we were just cold calling separately. Every day, we were booking like 5 meetings each for our separate businesses. And my mentor, he was just like, boys, just partner up. Like you're both so aligned. You're both from Ireland. You're both young. You're both hungry. So we just partnered up. It's just been history since then. We've been able to 1.5K client, 1K, 500. There's even more crazy results for our clients as well. It's just been scaling. That's why it's so powerful to have a business partner. Because if you think about it, if I'm on my own, I can put in 1 times effort every single day. Okay, that's perfect. But if I have a business partner, I can put in 1.5 times effort. So he's keeping me accountable, pushing me. So that brings you over that 0.5 extra. And then obviously he's doing another 1.5 input as well. So that's three times the input as a single person. It's just daily inputs. So obviously you kind of have to calculate what you need to be doing every single day to reach your goal by a certain point, and you're going to get there. If you provide those daily inputs, you keep the belief in yourself that you can do it, because you'll only go as far as you believe, lads. If you don't believe you can do anything, you're not going to do anything. If you believe that you can reach these monthly stats, so maybe 10K a month, we'll say. If you believe you can get to that, you're going to get there if you provide the daily inputs and you keep it consistent. Simple as that. And obviously, so we've been running with trials. At the moment, our trial conversion, so free trial to paying client is at 100%. Obviously, that's not sustainable, but at the moment, that's what it is. And that's what's helped us sign the clients that we have. We're getting testimonials, case studies now. So it's just going to be a snowball effect. So the snowball effect, it's exponential. It doesn't go 0, 0. It doesn't go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 5, 10. It's just snowballs as you go. You gain momentum. So it's just signing that first client is the hardest part. It's just building momentum, making sure you're providing those daily inputs, as I said, keeping it consistent. And once you have that momentum, it's just snowballs and snowballs. And then, you get to your goals as quicker than you think you do. But anyway, that's it for today, boys. If you reckon it was valuable, give it a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit me up. Obviously, my DMs are open. If you have any questions, Dahi Scales on Instagram, I'll put that up on the screen. I'll go follow my business partner as well. I'll put him up on the screen as well, Creator Ishay. And yeah, boys, let's get it. Let's get it.